Hi everybody, welcome to City Lou's Sports View. It's the sports topics related from Little League all the way to the pros and everything in between. We'll have guests talking about their experiences performing at a high level all the way down to some Little League kids, if we can get them in here, to coaches, trainers, and some medical physicians in the sports field. What we're going to do is we're going to advise the community, specifically families and the players, of the things they need to be aware of to play sports at with safety as a priority. One of the things we realize is that when you join sports at a young age, the first things they do is they ask you to go get a waiver from your parents to allow you to participate. Then you go get a physical examination, and once you're cleared for the whole season, and you don't get any follow-up checkups. So you could potentially get a minor injury in the first or second game, and if it doesn't get looked at, you could turn a minor injury into a major injury. Now that's one of the things we'd like to educate people on. What is a minor injury? What is a major injury? The other things is there enough being done about protecting children? One of the things with children, it's not the same as in the higher levels. If you have the next LeBron James, he could be 10, 12 years old. The first thing the coaches want to do is they want to get that star player as much playing time as possible. But how much playing time is enough so that you don't burn out the kid? So that because they practice them in full practices, and then they play them every minute of every game. And so before you know it, you can have a kid who's played like 3 seasons in about a year and a half. So those are some of the things we want to express. We'll have guests in different sports fields, all the way from boxing to baseball, basketball, football. We'll talk some hockey. We got the Stanley Cup champion, LA Kings, so that's something we got to address. That sounds funny in itself. The LA Kings, Stanley Cup champions. As funny as it is, I'll say it, and if it'll help them win championships. So what we're going to do is we're going to have shows throughout the year, and the guests will come on, and we'll discuss all the levels of sports that interest everybody, such as Lakers, Dodgers, Clippers, the exciting Clippers, just like our studio audience is excited. So what we're going to do is we're going to now talk about Muay Thai boxing. Muay Thai boxing is a sport that to some people it appears to be just violent and brutal, but it's actually an art, and there's a high skill level to perform this. And my first guest is he's a martial arts Muay Thai instructor, and he's got a black belt in judo. And so at this time, I'd like to welcome Derrick Martinez. How you doing, Derrick?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, this is cool, man. I think we get the misconception about Muay Thai, thinking that it's just martial arts, it's brutal, and it's just a free-for-all. But the more research I've done on it, I realize that there's a skill level. They mentioned that this is the 8 limbs, or the art of 8 limbs. What is that?
The art of 8 limbs. And Muay Thai, the difference between Muay Thai and boxing here in America, boxing we use, here in the States, we use our hands. You know, your right and left hand.
As opposed in other places, it's just all feet kicks?
Muay Thai is, your 2 hands, your knees, kicks, and, your elbows. So
you get, from what I've read, you get points by getting elbow kicks or elbow strikes?
Yeah, Muay Thai, they score it just like almost in boxing, like a 10-9 scoring system, whereas the dominant fighter who landed more strikes, the aggressor of the fight, typically landing more shots with punches or elbows, knees, they pretty much win the round. That's how it goes.
And so is it the same? Is it 12 rounds, or does it depend on the federation?
No, in Thailand, amateurs are 2-minute rounds. 3 rounds. Some organizations do 5 rounds for championship fights here in the States. When you go to Thailand, it's 5 rounds with 3 minutes, and you get a 2-minute rest in between. Thailand it's very brutal. It's hot. You know, they give the fighters enough rest time in between rounds to recover.
And so, there's different federations in the pro leagues. I understand there's the World Boxing Council for Muay Thai, and then there's, or are there multiple, just like in boxing?
There's a few of them out there. The most popular one, is the WBC, and then the World Muay Thai Council, which is the popular ones now.
And so, is to get licensed, is that the same requirements as in boxing, or is it a different type of?
No, the way it works, you apply for a license with the athletic commission, depending on what state you're fighting at, and you have to get examined by the doctor. You have to take a blood test and all that stuff.
So how did you, and when did you get started into Muay Thai? When did that pique your
I got
interest?
into Muay Thai accidentally by, I was actually boxing. I was an amateur boxer, and one of the coaches at the gym, who was from Thailand, of Laotian descent, and had no idea what it was. I actually thought it was, karate. And ironically, I had a street fight with his nephew, who pretty much beat me up. Him and I became best friends, and then he taught me how to kick. He told me I had really good hands. The only difference was I just needed to learn how to kick. And then for a whole year, I just trained on kicking technique, kneeing, and clinching. And pretty much that was it. I fell in love with the sport, as well as the art itself.
And how old were you when you started?
I was about in 7th grade, maybe 11, 12 years old when I got into it, and started buying magazines, whatever I can get a hold of. Back in the day, the difference between now and the kids now, when I was a kid, you got Google, you got YouTube. I didn't have that as a kid. I had the Encyclopedia Britannica. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
And going to the
got the books now.
Yeah,
brand new.
I had to go to the library. I had to look up the stuff on my own. I had to literally read the stuff from books, And luckily, I had a good coach who took the time. And he wasn't a big time fighter in Thailand either. He just happened to love to coach, and he was mainly a boxing coach, but. I didn't, who would have thought he would have been a real good Muay Thai coach too,
So, at what age did you start competing?
I had my first Muay Thai smoker, which we call smokers, like amateur events at gyms.
That sounds like something you get in with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, no, actually you don't. The word smoker itself came from the old social hall days of boxing, smoking and that scene, yeah. So my first Muay Thai smoker, I was about 15 years old, and I got beat up pretty bad. I took a.
That was in competition.
Yeah, but it was with the headgear, shin guards, and all that. I fought at a gym in New York, and actually at the YMCA. They had a boxing and a Muay Thai. They also had karate in there too. They had regular kickboxing as well. But I remember the first few fights I took some really good beatings because it's just another level. Muay Thai is it's another level of competing and training. And what I learned from losing those fights, I learned that I had to pick up the training. I had to learn to I had to get up early, do some running, incorporate some weight training in it, and spar a lot. You got to spar as much as you can. You got to get used to getting hit. If you're not used to getting hit, it's Muay Thai or any combat sport, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah, I would imagine once you go into shock, you lose your game plan, and so that's something that I guess you can't train for unless you spar.
Well, Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan to get punched in the face, So
yeah, he would know.
The best thing to do to approach the fight is just get in shape, train hard, and go in there with the confidence that you are going to win.
Now, when you talk about getting beat when you first started, automatically you would think, well, it's inexperience. But how much of a role does a trainer play where maybe they may have rushed you into these fights too soon? Maybe your competition was at a more advanced level than you were at that time?
I've gotten complaints from family members who criticized my coach, saying that, I was criticized for having bad managing. Part of the reason why I got injured a lot was because I got thrown in fights, and me just being a hothead, I want to fight, I want to throw down, We would show up to these smokers on Saturdays or Fridays or whatever, a group of us from our gym. You want to fight? Yeah, I want to fight. Sign a waiver, they just throw us in there and we fought, But as I got older, I started to learn that you can't do that. I mean, your body, you only get one body. If you don't take care of it, it's going to, later on, it's going to, catch up to you. There are times now I still feel the shots that I've taken years ago, especially when I'm getting up in the morning,
Yeah, I've seen some of the MMA fighters that get interviewed, and they mentioned that some of the rounds, it feels like it's like you've been in a car accident.
It all depends.
Yeah.
The key thing for any combat sport, whether it's boxing, MMA, martial arts, even when I competed in judo, you got to be conditioned. You have to work on your cardio, conditioning, strength training, whatever combat sport. If you're in the best shape of your life for the fight, and your opponent may know 1,000 moves, you may know 3, you can still beat them because you're in better shape than them. That's the key thing, to be in shape for a fight. I know guys personally that hold a full-time job. They train in the morning. Even I've done it. Working with the DA's office, getting up in the morning to go train, go running, go to work for 8-9 hours or whatever, get out of work, go train again, and teach a class. And then maybe do something afterwards with one of my coaches, maybe some pad drills, or going over some technique, and doing that for at least 3 months before my fight. And that's exhausting because, and you take time away from family, if you got a girlfriend, forget about it, You're not going to see her.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a major sacrifice.
It is a big sacrifice.
Fully commit.
Especially when you got kids, you don't see them, you're not there at night to put them to sleep, you see them when you can. It is. Being a lot of guys that come to our gym over at Team Florez in Puente, we get a lot of knuckleheads that come in there and say, I want to fight. And it's like, you want to fight, get married.
That's when the gloves really come off.
I'm just kidding, but I'm not trying to discourage no one from getting married. Marriage is a beautiful thing, everybody. But they don't realize the hard work that goes into the training, the sacrifice. They don't realize getting up in the morning, training, and changing up your diet. There's no more McDonald's, man.
Well, there are, but we got to drive right by them.
For me, I was half the size at one time when I competed, and the reason why I packed on weight was because I got injured so much, took a lot of time off, and it didn't help a lot. But what I try to tell these guys, you got to really take care of your body when you're younger, because when you get older, it's going to get worse if you don't. If you're in your 20s,
That's great advice. That now leads me to my next question, as to your fighting experience. How far did you get to compete?
I fought mostly amateur fights. Had an opportunity to turn pro at 25, but got injured really bad. Actually bruised my left orbital, which left me partially somewhat blind, but not really. Kind of see things in shades of gray. It's hard to explain.
Not like the book.
No, not like the book. Not like the book. Pretty much after that, it's gotten a lot better. I do still see a doctor for it. He does. It's funny because me and girlfriend went with me to one of my doctor visits, and they've recommended that I actually stop fighting because of the hip. I dislocated my hip competing in judo twice. My hip is about half a centimeter off from my thigh bone, and it's painful, but I can still fight through it and still move around with my students at the gym.
Well, it's amazing that you put yourself through such a physical it's well brutal conditioning is what it is.
It is.
There's no other way to put it. But so now, what are you doing now that you're not in? Are you still involved in it in different ways?
Yeah. Funny thing is, I consider taking another fight in this summer. I'm 75% sure I'm going to do it. Right now, I'm working on conditioning for it and cutting weight. But right now, I'm focusing on getting my students over at Team Florez, helping them out with Mark De La Cruz and Alan Florez over at Team Florez.
You said
Muay
Team
Thai.
Florez is a fight gym?
Muay Thai gym, yeah, in Puente. It's a great Muay Thai gym. I'm fortunate enough that Alan and Mark hired me as their MMA coach, and they also helped me out with my striking. They're great guys. Those guys are like my brothers, you know.
Well, that's great. Well, cool. We'll put some information. We got a website for
teamflorezmuaythai.com.
Well, Derrick, thanks for coming on and being my guest.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it. And we'd like to have you back with your students one day.
I would love to come back, have some of the students, maybe demonstrate some stuff. Of course, we'll be safe about it.
Great.
Want to let the public know that this stuff is, you know, it's an art. You know, it's not brutal street fighting.
Great. Right on. Well, that's what we want, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a bit. All right, everybody, welcome back. We fortunate to have Derrick with us again. He's got a little bit more time, so his schedule changed, and fortunately for us, we get to spend a little more time with him. We also want to mention about Derrick's website again. It's www.teamflorezmuaythai.com. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
At your fight gym, you have fighters that are competing. Where, if any, fights are they having, and where can anyone go see them?
We actually got a guy fighting tomorrow at Hollywood Park Casino, Martinez, a 130 fighter, fighting a Muay Thai fight tomorrow. We got a heavyweight that's fighting May 4th out in Arizona, George Hernandez. And we also have a 13-year-old girl, Alexis Bonilla, fighting MMA June 2nd over at Casino Morongo.
Wow, 13-year-old.
13-year-old girl, and she's bad.
Wow, she's got to be.
Yeah.
So, what do they give the girls a harder time to get into it? Do they try to discourage them? I'm sure there's a lot of myths about girls getting hit in the chest and whether or not that causes breast cancer.
I haven't done much research on it, but I mean, even I was told from some doctors, not just fight doctors, but getting hit in the breast will cause some kind of problems for women as they get older. It's been a concern of mine too, with my female fighters that I've trained, worked with as well. But you know, when these girls step in the cage, I mean, they don't think about that. You know, if you go into a fight thinking about, man, I'm going to get hurt, that right there is going to stop you from winning. Yeah, you're in the wrong business.
That sounds like something that's not in the makeup of a fighter to begin with.
Yeah, you can't think about injuries. I mean, as a coach, I do get concerned about the fighters and their safety, of course. If I see my fighter getting beat up real bad in a fight, I'm going to step and throw in the towel. I mean, you know, just for him getting in the ring or in the cage, that proves to me he has enough heart. You know, why risk a really bad injury where he can't fight anymore, you know? So, you know, that's one of the responsibilities as a coach, to recognize when your fighter, he's done, you know?
Well, that's great.
And I learned that from the bad managing that I had growing up.
That's what I was going to say, because there's a responsibility that we all have.
If you notice, my left thigh right now is twitching. You know, this is part of the injury that I had. It tends to twitch every now and then, and the shades of color come in and out. But, you know, these are things that I got used to over the years. You know, even when I go spar and I get hit in his eye, you know, I can't think about it. That's what I was trying to say. If I go into the fight thinking about I'm going to sustain more injuries, then I think that's when it's time for me to pretty much hang it up, you know.
You mentioned you're contemplating, 75% sure you're gonna get in the
cage.
Is the cage.
Yeah, I converted myself from a Muay Thai fighter to a MMA fighter. Funny thing is, one of my friends was like, well, you know, how can you convert? You're just a fighter. It doesn't matter what style or sport it is. You know, I said, yeah, you got a point. But, yeah, thinking about doing a fight with King of the Cage late August. Some people actually are supportive of it, and some people think I'm crazy. But, you know, I'm at the point right now, I'm going to be 37. And, you know, I don't want to be sitting in bed one day at 50 going, why I didn't take that fight, you know?
Well, let me ask the question that the audience has got to be dying to ask. Why take the fight with your injuries, your twitching eye, the dislocated hip, and why him, the King of the Cage?
King of the Cage? I mean, it's a big organization, and I do it out of love. I mean, like I told you before, if I think about injuries, there's no way for me that I have to step back in that cage. I can't think about it. I know that injuries are part of the territory. It's in the back of my mind, but I can't think about it. Another thing, you know, I love to compete, love to fight in the martial arts, and my students love it, and my students like to see me compete. For about 4 or 5 years, I didn't compete in anything, and all my students ever brought up was, when are you going to fight again? You know, just to, you know, and my thing is, I gotta
always show them a video, bro.
I mean, I gotta lead by example. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I mean, I move around with them once in a while, and it does feel good to do it. You know, I figure, why not?
Well, when would that fight take place?
It's supposed to be in Vegas in August. I'm probably gonna mess up the date. Probably August 30th. Told the promoter that I was down to do it, but I want to be real sure about it, because right now he's looking for an opponent. He has an ideal opponent for me, someone that I kind of sort of know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you the best. We wish you a great fight. We hope you protect yourself and that you don't get hurt, and we'd love to have you back. Mm-hmm. And it's been fascinating talking about a sport that not enough information gets shared, and you've been great. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. All right, everybody. We have some announcements that you may have missed in the beginning that we need to address. The big national and little national league opening day at Lambert Park, 11431 McGurk Avenue in the city of El Monte. Again, that's the big national and little national league opening day at Lambert Park on Saturday, March the 16th at 10:30 a.m. And then on March the 22nd, we've got the Eastern Little League opening day at Mountain View Park at 12127 Elliott Avenue in El Monte, and that's at 6 p.m. So I guess we got night games. That's great. March 22nd, 6 p.m., Eastern Little League opening day, Mountain View Park, 12127 Elliott Avenue in El Monte. All right. Well, one of the things we should talk about as we begin our first show on City LOUIE Sports View to talk about the year in sports up to the current date. We had a great year with college football with the bowl games, with the national champion Alabama beating Notre Dame and MartinezMuayThai. Now we know why Alabama won, because he was tackling his imaginary girlfriend, because he obviously wasn't tackling the Alabama Crimson Tide. So we had some great bowl games. Unfortunately, SC didn't do very well this year, but there's hope for next year. UCLA is coming along. They're making progress, and we have hope for them, and hope the Bruins turn that around. The Super Bowl, that was a great Super Bowl. Ray Lewis, in his swan song, his final game of his career, the Baltimore Ravens beating the San Francisco 49ers in Colin Kaepernick, the Bro Bowl, or the Harborough, if you will. Of course, that game was pretty much a blowout in the first half until Beyonce came out at halftime, and she was lights out, literally. And with, of course, if you liked it, you should have put a generator on it. The Superdome blew out power, so for about 27 minutes there was no power, and they had to interrupt the game, which caused the 49ers to regroup, get themselves together, and they put together an amazing comeback, only to fall short to the Baltimore Ravens and Ray Lewis. So congratulations to the Ravens on a great Super Bowl. The NFL season had a great season altogether, starting with the return of Peyton Manning with his neck surgery. I think he had 2, and doctors were concerned if he would ever play again. Not only did he return, but he led the Denver Broncos to the NFC title game, short of the AFC conference championship, rather. Adrian Peterson, another comeback player, had his surgery, came back, and he persevered and ultimately won the most valuable player of the National Football League. Just in general, there's a lot of parity now in the NFL, and teams are starting to get balanced. We saw an emergence of some great young talent. The Seattle Seahawks with Pete Carroll up north, and C.J. Wilson, their quarterback. They, along with the Washington Redskins and R.J. Griffin, they just put a spectacular, exciting football season together. And so there's a lot of things in the NFL that's going to be great. Unfortunately, we have teams like the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants who are having the New York Jets, rather, are having some serious problems, and they're not getting better fast. So the Cowboys, I think that as long as there's teams like the Atlanta Falcons with Matt Ryan and the Colts with Andrew Luck, there's going to be some great NFL coming up soon. So the NFL was just altogether a great season last year. So that's happened in the beginning of the year. And so now we're at March Madness. March Madness, to a lot of people who don't know what that is, it's not just a mattress sale. It's actually a college basketball tournament with 68 teams that participate, and the first 4 teams have a play-in game. I think it's March the 19th on Tuesday. Those 4 teams will advance 2 teams into the final field of 64. 64 teams will participate in this tournament in March, and they will have 16 teams per bracket. Each bracket is separated into 4 regions: the West region, the South, the Midwest, and the East region. So that's exciting because March Madness gets its title from the ending of every game is just madness, and it all takes place in March. So now, hopefully, you get the great teams, the number 1 seeds, to get to advance, and we'll get some great basketball. Speaking of basketball in the NBA, the Lakers, are they a disappointment? We'll have to see later in the year. But for the most part, we'll cover the Lakers, the Clippers, the Dodgers, the Angels, and all the sports local teams, and make sure you come on back. So that's our show. Thanks for checking out City LOUIE Sports View. In a few weeks, you'll be able to see a new show that we have. And so remember, at all times, keep your head in the game.